So the trade and economic sanctions implemented and enforced by OFAC have become an incredibly strong and effective political tool. Regardless of the administration, there's always going to be sanctions that are going to be imposed that sort of dictate foreign policy. That is the reason that they do it. Now, this landscape has really changed and evolved in recent years, and it's become much more difficult for law enforcement and for financial institutions to keep abreast of all the changes. Let me give you an example. In the days past, OFAC sanctions were typically black and white. There were entities or individuals that were on a list and they were prohibited from doing any transactions with. But now that has evolved, and what we now have are more transaction-based sanctions by OFAC. The reason it's complicated is because on top of that, there are general licenses that allow certain transactions in a particular country. So as a financial institution, you really have to understand how OFAC works. You have to understand exactly what the transaction is that is prohibited, but also have to know what is allowed. So in Venezuela, for example, prior to August of 2019, the sanctions were very transaction-based, which means that if you have a customer that works in Venezuela, you don't have the luxury of just saying, oh, that is blocked. You have to look much deeper into the transaction. You have to look whether there's a license that allows the transaction. And the same thing happened with the Russian and Ukraine sanctions imposed just recently by the administration. And what also makes this even more difficult is that these transaction-based sanctions and these licenses could be changed and modified in an instant and unilaterally by the administration. So not only is it hard enough to navigate this field by knowing exactly what is allowed and not allowed, but then you also have to be in touch with what is changed and what has happened by the administration at a moment's notice. It is challenging, but it is something that can be done if you are diligent, if you are making sure that you have the right people looking in the right places and making sure that you are aware of everything that's going on within the administration and with the sanctions policies.